Lovely. Lisa, it's really lovely to chat to you today for She Can. Tell us a little about yourself and what you do.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. So I work for a large market leader in payroll and HR solutions, and we have customers, and we are based in the UK and Ireland. My current role, because I've been there a while, is the payroll change and systems manager. So I oversee changes going into the payroll systems, and a bit of a conduit between the operating teams, the change teams, and sometimes the customer, on a very basic, quite uneventful level. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, change.
Lisa, let me understand a little bit better what that means on a day-to-day basis. What is a normal day for you?
It's fairly fluid, even though payroll is payroll. Data in, data out, people get paid. I could be working on a project. I can be looking at changes to pay elements. Customer wants different pay elements, looking at impact assessment on that. What needs looking at? Do new reports need looking at to be changed to include the element? Does it need specialist set up for specialist teams? Getting the testing done, making sure it's signed off and it's okay as per the customer request, and making sure that the payroll teams are happy with it. It's been built as it's been requested, getting it signed off, and then getting it put into the live system.
Amazing. Lisa, tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get to having this job at this point?
It certainly wasn't by design, I will be honest. I didn't walk into the careers office at school and say, get me into payroll, that's where I want to be. I wanted to be a vet when I was younger, much younger, and to the point where I did work experience at a vet's and spent 2 weeks down in Somerset, stood next to a vet for 2 weeks looking at, dogs, and watched the cow have a cesarean, helping newborn puppies being put into a box. It's, hard jobs. But I then soon realised that actually I wasn't that good at maths and not great at exams either. Now, ironically, I now have an accountancy qualification and a payroll qualification. Not really quite sure how that happened. And I spend my day looking at figures and numbers. So there we go. But in doing this role, I've had lots of opportunities. The company is quite good at seeing if you've got a better fit elsewhere in different departments, marketing, sales, etc. And we set up offshore office in India, and I thought, oh well, I'll apply. I doubt I'll hear. Nothing will happen. Got an interview, did the interview, got offered it, and so I was out on an 8-week secondment, and that led to other secondments, and I've helped set up and open up the second office. So I worked in Mumbai and I worked in Kerala, and I have to say it's one of the best opportunities that I've ever had. And now you have to grab it, you have to go looking for it and seek it out, and make the most of it when you're there. But I was doing things that were completely out of my comfort zone. I was dealing with local strikes. I was dealing with architects and builders on a snagging list, like, there weren't any windows in the window frames, details like that. But it was so good because it was so different. And I thought, this is where else would I get to do that and still sort of do my day job as well? So yeah. So currently I'm in the UK based.
Amazing, Lisa. Thank you for sharing that. Tell us what motivates you every day to go and and get the payroll systems going.
I think pay is quite an emotive subject. Nobody ever congratulates you when it goes right. When it's all smooth, you hear nothing. You only get talked to quite a lot when something goes wrong. So the idea is to keep the chatter low, So that's quite a good motivation. You know, if our pay was wrong, you'd be quite upset about it. So it's like you have to treat it as if that was my pay slip, how would I feel? And that's the service that you need to give. I think curiosity and just wanting to leave the day better than it started. Not everything is within your control, and you have to accept that. But as long as you've been able to do everything you physically can, and you set things up and you look ahead, then you should be okay. But I think curiosity is fabulous, and you sort of gain different perspectives from dealing with different teams. You know, every day is a school day. We can all learn from everybody in a room. And I have, you know, I'm an auntie to 2 under 5s, and I love talking to them. And I'll be honest, I rarely get a word in edgeways. But it's like, you know, if you get a new pair of shoes and I think, oh, that's a nice colour, that will go with the jeans, or that will go with those pair of trousers, or that dress. And they'll come up to me and say, oh, great shoes, Auntie Lisa. How fast can you run in them? And I think, well, I never looked at it like that. So I like talking to people and finding out their opinions of things, and because you don't know everything. You cannot be the expert in everything, you know, unless you're a professor of medicine. But you also need to be humble enough to say, I don't know, but I'll find out. And surround yourself with experts, and they can learn off you as just as much as you learn off them.
That was such good advice, Lisa. I love that. Leave the day better than you started. That is such a crucial, you know, if everyone had that mantra, I think that would be pretty neat. Lisa, what is your superpower? What do you think makes you good at your job? And you're obviously good at your job, and you've done some adventures and opened offices elsewhere. What is it, do you think, that makes you good?
I think you have to be quite adaptable. I'm fairly pragmatic. I don't obsess about stuff in the past. I'm pretty calm, I've been told, and I think you have to have a sense of humour. I think that's a big thing. You need to be able to laugh at yourself. You are going to make mistakes. And that's okay. That's how you learn. But I think I'm not reactive, and in order to be able to do and deal with the stuff that comes up, because some of it is really constricted on time frames, and you've got to be able to take the emotion out of it and just deal with the facts in front of you, sort out what is wrong, what you need to do to fix it, who's the best person to do it, because it might not be you, and that's okay. But just sort it out, deal with the wheres and the whys later, fix the problem first, and then work out how you can stop it from happening again, or mitigate it or minimize it.
Lisa, I love that. It's a solutions-driven approach. And yes. Yeah. Lisa, what would you've given so many tips, but what would your top tips be for other women?
Look after yourself first. My brother used to say to me, at least you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're spent, you're not going to give the best version of you. Believe in yourself, and that doesn't mean being arrogant, but just believe in yourself. And if you've got a good idea, say it. It might not be a good idea in the end, but if you have an idea, you know, sit at the table and have the conversation. Enter the conversation. Don't walk around the edge of the room. Get into the middle. And don't be afraid to change your idea. You might think it's great at the start, but actually, if you just tweak it a little bit, it might be a better idea. You know, Dyson didn't come up with their Hoover in the very first attempt. It took 2,000 to 3,000 attempts to get it better. Everybody fails at something, and if they say they don't, I'm not inclined to believe them. But it's how you learn. And if something hasn't worked, well, then you haven't finished it. So just keep going, and if you believe in it, keep going. Don't let anybody, you know, take it away from you. Trust your instinct a lot of the time. Very rarely is it wrong. But yeah,
That's a lot of top tips.
I know,
That's
I know. Just run it off.
Lisa, my last question is, where do you see yourself in the future? 5 years time, what would your dreams be?
My boss asks me this all the time for year-end appraisals, and I don't know the answer to it, but I don't think I've ever known the answer to that. I've never lived to a plan. I've never sat down and wrote out, right, by the time I'm 20, I want to do this. By the time I'm 30, I want to do this. I'm fairly middle of the road in that I just want to be content with whatever I'm doing. And as long as I've given the best attention to it, then I'm happy at the end of the day. I don't know. I think success, do we measure success in, a number one on the FTSE index, or do we measure success in being happy in your work-life balance? And sometimes a job isn't necessarily something that you love, but at the end of the day, are you happy with what you've done? Are you happy that you can do a job, come home and do anything else of the day? I like painting, so I'm starting to get back into that. I like spending time with other people. So it's that sort of thing. I think, will I be in this job in 5 years' time? I don't know. I didn't think I'd be in this job in 5 years, and I've been there over 14. So who knows? I think that if you have goals, great, go for them, but don't forget to look up. You've got all these, I think Tim Minchin said, you'll miss all these shiny things on the periphery of your vision if you don't look up, because sometimes it's not a straight path and it meanders all the way from, but just go with it. And if it's what makes you happy, it isn't really work. But you kind of need to work that out for yourself. What is it that you like doing? And if you can't think of that, I tend to say to people, well, flip the question. What do I not like doing? And that will narrow it down as well, and go from there. So the answer is, I don't know, but I'm okay with that.
I love that, Lisa. Thank you for all your wisdom. There was a lot of wisdom in here. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me, Stephanie, on She Can. Thank you.